In the spring of 1849, a wooden crate was carried into the offices of the Pennsylvania Anti-Slavery Society in Philadelphia. Stamped on the side, in hopeful black letters, were 4 words: "This side up, with care." The men gathered around it pried the lid loose. A man sat up inside, looked at them, and said good morning. His name was Henry Brown, and he had just mailed himself out of slavery. Henry Brown was born into slavery in Virginia around 1815. As a young man, he was sent to work in a tobacco factory in Richmond, pressing leaf for a trade that made other men rich. He was skilled, he was trusted, and he was still owned. He married a woman named Nancy, and together they built the ordinary, fragile life the law allowed them, which is to say, no life the law would protect. In the summer of 1848, Henry's owner sold Nancy and their 3 children to a plantation in North Carolina. Henry had money set aside. He had been promised it would never happen. It happened anyway. He stood on a Richmond street and watched a line of 350 enslaved people walk south, and somewhere in that line were his wife and his children. He would never see them again. So what do you do when grief has taken everything and left you a man the law calls property? Henry Brown had a thought so strange it circled all the way back around to brilliant. If a crate of dry goods could travel from a slave state to a free one, no questions asked and no papers checked, then he would become a crate of dry goods. He would ship himself north. He would put himself in the mail. The crate was 3 feet long, 2 feet wide, 2.5 feet deep, smaller than Henry himself. He lined it with coarse cloth, packed in a little water and a few biscuits, and bored 3 small holes for air. On the 23rd of March, 1849, he folded his body into that box, and friends nailed the lid shut over him. Then they carried the mail to the express office and paid the freight. The label said "this side up." The world did not listen. For 27 hours, Henry Brown rode by wagon, by railroad, by steamboat, and by ferry, and for long stretches he traveled upside down, the blood pounding in his head, not daring to make a sound. On the steamboat, 2 workers flipped his crate over and sat on it to rest. He held still. He held on. He prayed the box would not become a coffin. The box reached Philadelphia the next morning. In the office of the Anti-Slavery Society, 4 men leaned over it, and one of them rapped on the wood and asked if anyone was inside. A voice answered, yes. They opened it, and Henry Brown rose up out of the crate, damp and stiff and alive. And the first thing he did was sing, a hymn of thanksgiving he had chosen in advance for exactly this moment. 27 hours in the dark, and he came out singing. They called him Henry Box Brown from that day on. He became a speaker, then a showman, carrying a giant painted panorama of slavery across America, and, when the law made America unsafe, across England. He had turned himself into a parcel to buy the one thing no one had ever let him own, his own life. And he spent the rest of it making sure the world could not look away.